Hey guys, I'm Brandon and I'm Cyrus on Hudson Land, and I have been asked so much about a Flail build when it comes to a healer that I've made one. And not only that, it is amazing. Let me tell you about how the Power Stone is going to be something that I think is just as good as the Life Taker when it is Void Gauntlet to your life staff. All right, first off, I want to cover the premise of this build before we talk about gear and stuff, but just know that this build synergizes around Power Stone, and some of you are like, well, how do I get that? It's really easy. As soon as you hit level 65, you unlock these things called Soul Trials. Let me hide this. You'll see Soul Trials that you can do. These are pretty simple, if I'm being honest, and you can complete 3 a day right here, and you get opportunity for rewards. But in this loot pile is the Power Stone, and it drops from any Soul Trial. All you have to do is complete the Soul Trial and you get a chance for it. I think it took me maybe 3 to get it. I felt like it was not a lot, where it felt like it was too much, but I was able to get it and I felt like it was enough. So totally you should get it. But what is the Power Stone? So let's talk about the perk right here. What you see is Heavy Burden. If health is above 90%, which is your health, then attacks will cause a 20% weaken for 5 seconds and has a 5-second cooldown on each target, which is cool because as soon as it runs out, as long as you're hitting them again, it will add another 20% weaken. What does that mean? For every 1,000 damage, they actually are only going to do 800 damage because you've had a 20% weaken, which if you think about it, makes your healing 20% more powerful in theory, because if they're taking 20% less damage and you're healing the same amount, technically you're even more useful than adding just Rens and letting your DPS do more DPS. In some ways, surviving the fight is a lot more than killing it the fastest. That could be completely, different. But anyway, the other perks that come on this are Refreshing Move or Enchanted, and you can upgrade it. I would totally put, for me, I'm putting Mending Vortex on it, but for right now, I do have a shield that has it on there. So anyway, Mending Vortex is the one I want to put on it personally. So the question is, how does this work and why does this matter? And when, we talk about the Life Taker artifact, when you shoot with the life staff, you actually add the rend, which is why I love the Life Taker. You get a 30% rend by just shooting with your life staff. That's so cool. Well, this description says your ranged attacks inflict disintegrate for 8 seconds on both weapons. It specifically says it. The Power Stone does not say that. All it says is attacks cause, and you would assume that it's just the Power Stone. Let me take you out and show you. All right, so we've made it out here and we see a couple of enemies. What I'm going to do is actually take this flail. I'm going to hit them, and you can see I'm at full health. If I hit them, you're going to see above their head, you have that little hand that's got the down arrows. That's the 20% weaken. And since he's hit me, he also got another debuff as well. But you can see that I'm not full health. And when I hit him, it doesn't actually add that. So you do have to be full health for this to work. But the big thing about the flail is you heal so much because of flail. Like, watch this. You see I'm at 10k health. Look at this. I'm at 14k just from casting an ability. I'm at 15k from hitting that. I've light attacked him. Oh, he died. Let me go hit something else here. Just a light attack. Boom. He's got that weaken on him. 20% weaken. He does 20% less damage to me, which is really cool. Now, the reason this is so cool is, watch this. Here's the life staff. You see this guy? All right, he hasn't hit me yet. I'm at full health. Let me shoot him. He also gets the weaken. And so it does not say that it works on both weapons in the description. Now you can see I'm under 90% health, so I'm not going to add it. But if I get up to it, watch this. Boom. Now I'm full health. I add the weaken. It happens on the life staff as well, which means that you could just do full passive AoE, life staff healing, keep yourself fully topped off, and you're adding a 20% weaken. But where this is really powerful is as a flail user, you can get in the clump and pop abilities, spin the round, more vortex, and add that weaken to every enemy that's there in the area. which means that all your DPS are going to take less damage. Your healing is going to be bigger. All these 5-con people aren't going to die so much. That's why it's so powerful. So let's go ahead and talk about gear and go through that. Now, just understand that the gear really doesn't make too much sense. Just know that if run whatever light equipped loadout you want, find the weapon perks that make sense, prioritize health, enchanted ward, things like that. Find the things that work best for your build. But here's what I'm running right now. The Living Mind, I did buy it at 710 from the actual well, and I used a coconut plus the actual whatever doubloons to upgrade it and added refreshing move. So now I have blessed, refreshing move, divine embrace. I don't really like refreshing divine embrace. I don't necessarily like using it. I like splash of light personally, but I do have a 725, and people will be like, well, why does it matter? The base damage increases your overall healing. So I wanted to have something that was higher. But that being said, it doesn't really matter. Find whatever life staff works for you. I personally still love the Fire of Life, and I do switch this out from time to time. Obviously, we have the Power Stone. I would have a cut pristine diamond in this, but they are almost 1,000 gold on the server. And I trade this out for Carnelians on a tanking build, by the way, with the Power Stone. Make sure you subscribe. I'm doing a tanking build, which is absolutely insane. Your light attacks from sword also apply weakens, and the other abilities apply weakens. You can have like a 40% weaken on your enemies from being a tank. It's insane with this build. Make sure you subscribe. Anyway, what's really cool about this one is refreshing move. You're able to get your abilities a lot quicker, which was what I like. Some people might say, well, why don't you use Odo? And it's because it doesn't really have any kind of bonus as a healer. We're not necessarily focusing on damage on stuns or whatever the case. That's not what we're focusing on. But this weaken thing, huge for our team. For my armor, I'm actually doing a light loadout. So this gives you 30% of extra healing over medium, 60% over heavy, etc. Anyway, light loadouts are what I recommend for healers most of the time. For the head, we have a medium head with health. That's what I'm trying to prioritize. Featherweight, obviously, to make sure we can have the most armor out of a lightweight class. Health is what I've added on here. For the arms, these are kind of just 700 arms. Nothing really great here except for enchanted ward. For the actual pants, these are medium pants. Again, enchanted ward, health. And the gloves are light gloves, by the way. For the boots, they are medium boots, and you can see refreshing and health. That's, I would love to have enchanted ward, refreshing health. And I know those are specific drops from the kiln, but it's literally fresh start, guys. And then for the round shield, I don't really care too much about the other perks, but I do want mending vortex. I'll eventually add it to the power stone, but matrices are so stupid expensive that it's just not a priority. So I'll put it on the shield for now. And what you can see is that puts me at 1,055 armor physical, 1,005 elemental. Now I haven't popped my food yet, but for this build, I run 200 con. So let me pop a food. And when I do that, that actually puts me at 1156 physical, 1105 elemental, because I'm at 200 constitution, and it gives me an extra 10% of my armor, which is really nice. So this feels really, you're not squishy as a light player, which is why the featherweight builds are so cool. For the jewelry, for the amulet, I would love to have divine health. I've just not been lucky yet to find it A, cheap, or B, for it to drop. So we're running refreshing health and alchemist reprieve. Not a best in slot. For the ring, I have a constitution, healing breeze, refreshing sacred. I think that this is the ring you should be going for. I would think best in slot is healing breeze, hardy, and sacred. But you can get this exact same roll to drop inside of Tempest Heart. This is actually Vivify. You can see this right here. This is Focus. You can have Healing Breeze, Refreshing, and Hardy to be able to get this to drop. And it actually drops guaranteed with Healing Breeze and Refreshing, because you can see right here, I actually bought this one from the kiln. This one dropped inside. And the one that I got from the kiln, unfortunately, had Hardy. I will eventually get one that has Sacred. Just because I want to focus Vivify, but you don't have to try to buy one. You can just totally go to Tempest Heart and farm it out. You actually get a lot of materia from the season pass. So I think you get almost 3,000. You only have to get 500 more. to be able to just buy it yourself. And then you have the Rusher's Earring. This is just a 700 one that I had. What I really want is regenerating personally, but here's Nimble, Refreshing Toast, Fortifying Toast. Again, nothing special, crazy. And I try to run opals and as much as stuff as I can, but everything's expensive. And I keep saying it that way because it's expensive to run on fresh starts. So for attributes, the spread doesn't matter too much. I would just say the Constitution, go as high as you want to feel comfortable. You can totally run this as a 100 con build. I've just felt really nice lately because everyone's very squishy running 200 con because the DPS will go down and I'm able to pop heals and revive them and feel safe because there's a lot of people new to the game and they're learning. I just feel like as someone who's experienced, I can my DPS doesn't matter as much. I'll run higher con to make sure I can save the people who are still trying to understand and learn the mechanics. So I'm running 200. I would probably really go 150 or 100 for normal stuff and probably put a lot more points into strength. But for right now, this is what we're doing. 350 focus, I think, is what you should aim for. And then whatever points you have left over, put it into strength. And you can tell I have all of these points, and some of you might be asking, and someone did in a previous video, how do you get so much attribute points? Well, your armor, which is the blue, everything that's blue is your armor. That's points that come off of your armor. Anything that's purple is anything that's an item buff. For example, this purple on focus is my magnify, which I can move around and you can see that it can kind of just go everywhere. So that's my magnify bonus, which is on focus. And you can see right here, you see item buffs of 48. That's because I ate a 48 con food a second ago, which is why I got another 48 points here. Now, 48 con food is expensive. 48 food is expensive, period. But the way I've been justifying it is, for about an hour's worth of time, I'm spending 200 gold. I think I can make 200 gold, 300 gold in an hour. So I prioritize having the food to have the points. And that's just how I think about it. All right, for weapon mastery, I actually don't stay on the life staff very often. You'll see that I'm actually on the flail a lot of times. I flop over to the life staff to throw down an orb of protection, and then maybe to even cast Divine Embrace or throw the sacred down. If it's needed, but most of the time I'm in the middle of the group doing a bunch of vortexes and spinning, doing a bunch of heals, and then switching to pop something and going back. So even refreshing move isn't necessarily a requirement. You could run a full AoE healing build on this and feel great. You could run beacon, but this is my current setup that I've really felt nice with. I'm still going all the way into Divine Blessing. I'm going Divine Embrace all the way down, Sacred all the way into the normal 4 here. And I'm not doing Blissful Touch, which is what I do a lot of times, but that's just because I'm not shooting with my life staff a bunch. So I do have Orb of Protection and my normal 3 buffs over here, Bend Light, Protector Strength, and Glowing Focus to give me 20% extra, 20% because of this, and to have longer buffs, which works really well. For the Flail, it's almost the entire left tree. And I will walk through the Flail because if you haven't played Flail before, I want to explain how some of this works. So this little section might be a little longer. By the way, timestamps will be down in the description. We're running full left tree except for not taking Happy Flails and the Debilitating Extension. We're using those points over here for Vital Suppressant and for Reductive Superiority. Reductive Superiority. Anyway, your first attack is Arcane Smite. This one is kind of weird because sometimes you land this, sometimes you don't, okay? So you really could drop Arcane Smite and you could take Warding Bludgeon if you wanted. That's a really good option. This one gives you a Fortify. This one adds a lot of lifesteal opportunities. So the reason and the way this works is you leap forward and strike the ground, and then that hazardous area is where it actually has impairment. It does 10% arcane damage and weakens the target. So not only are you getting a weaken from the impairments, but you're also adding weaken from the Power Stone. So you're making these enemies barely hit. And it could be a 30% weaken from Arcane Smite that you have on the ground or any of these things that cause impairment, plus the 20%, that's a 50%, which I think is capped. Tell me if I'm wrong in the description. I think it's a 50% cap on weakness, which is crazy cool from one weapon. You can add weaknesses from other ones. Then you have Epic Flail, reduces its cooldown. You're going to get 20% more base weapon damage because you're running a round shield. And then Deflecting Frailty actually does it to where when you're receiving an attack, we will actually inflict like another weakening effect, dealing even more reduction, 5% per stack for 5 seconds, another 5. So even more weakens. And while the effect is active, allies that are hit have 10% lifesteal for 3 seconds, which is huge. And so this, again, this is like a big lifesteal, a huge amount of weaken. Try to pop this as much as possible. Oppressive Advantage is just so that you can get some haste, and it actually does increased healing by 5%, which is really cool, and it can increase its power up to 20%. This is really nice to be able to have. Not only can you zoom around and get out of a fight, but you get increased healing yourself. Weighted Superiority, this is about cooldown reductions. So when you hit a target, you get a 1% reduction in cooldown. Arcane Vortex is kind of like your main bread and butter. This is the one as you're spinning around and you hit things, you actually like get Empower that goes and hits your team. It deals damages around the area, everything. It also roots enemies, so it's a root. It also gets haste for yourself, and you also get haste for your teammates around you so they can move around, and you also heal. All allies that are inside the actual spin are 65% weapon damage healed, and it scales with focus. They're cleansed of crowd control effects. This is just a huge cleanse heal. Honestly, it's just a really cool attack. You also have Arcane Eruption. This one is kind of like a single target heal to yourself, but it can support your team because all of these add impairment, which is even more weakness that we were talking about earlier. What this does is it actually consumes one of the stacks of impairment and does even more damage and healing. So you can see it actually hits them with the flail, follows up with a melee attack dealing extra stuff. It actually flicks weaken. Then you can also targets who are hit are slowed, and then it has supported blessing. It'll consume 1 stack of impairment, but you've put so many on them, triggering a chain that will bounce up 4 times to your allies that are within 6 meters of you. So your whole group, it could trigger if they're all close to you, they're all melee DPS and you're in the mix and you hit that, you're also healing all of them. 130% of the damage that you do is health to your allies, and you get 50% of that healing to yourself. So it's a huge heal for your team, but I'm still not done with the healing part. Spiking impairment, being hit or blocking a hit, actually inflicts impairment if you're above 90% health, which is so cool. We've already talked about impairments, that's weakens. Vital Embrace, this one's nice. While at or below 50% health, you're below half health, all flail attacks have lifesteal, which is nice. And if you're above, all flail attacks extend the duration of damage over time effects on targets by 7%. So if they've got any kind of bleed or the impairments, you actually can continue to extend that by just hitting them with flail attacks. Leader of the Pack, when no allies are near you in 5 meters, all flail attacks deal 15% extra damage. And then if 1 or more allies are close to you within those 5 meters, they gain Empower, increasing their damage dealt by 10%. It's kind of like the leadership tree on Sword. If they're close to you, they get even more Empower, which is cool. And then the bread and butter of this is Better Together. While near 1 or more allies, you grant passive healing that is 16% weapon damage for every 3 seconds. So every 3 seconds, it's like basically a sacred tick that they'll get, and it's a 5 meter radius. So if you're close to people, you're hitting all of these attacks, you're healing with Mending Vortex, you're healing with Arcane Eruption, and then they're also every 3 seconds getting another, basically a sacred tick. You can see where I'm talking about, like, this is a pretty insane thing. You throw your sacred down, hit everyone with an orb, so they now have a 20% fortify, and they also have a bunch of weakens. You're being able to heal a whole bunch. All of this like passive heals, big heals. All you're doing is DPS. You're adding weak. It's insane of a build. All right, to see if I can actually prove how powerful this build is, even as a solo player, I'm going to run up here to Beds, which is Beds of Tabajet, and we're going to take on the boss solo. This is totally not like the hardest thing to do in the world, but even as a solo player playing this game, one of the things that you have to do is find a way to be able to complete harder content when other people aren't doing it, like world tours, or you miss it, or something like that. So anyway, that being said, I'm just going to run up here, and we're going to go ahead and pull a bunch of this stuff, and we're going to see how we survive. This might be really bad, but I just pulled a whole bunch of people here. We're Sacred, got this going. Arcane Vortex, everyone was hit with a weaken. We just popped our first attack. I'm sitting here just light attacking. You can see I've lost almost no health. I'm still healing. And you can see above their head, all of these weakens, all of these stacks of impairment. I mean, sure, I have no sacred on the ground right now. You can see I just popped that heal all the way up. You can get all of these things here. Pop this, get a heal. Still light attack swinging. I still haven't even put another heal on the ground. Swap over, sacred, orb. And now I'm just back in with Flail. And you can see that I'm still putting weakens on them. They're barely hitting me. 200 damage, 1,000 damage. And you can see I'm just getting passive heals from everything. This is crazy. I'm just in an elite area as a healer, doing absolutely doo-doo DPS. Let's be honest. But, I mean, I just kind of ran through here. All right, let's go see if I can solo, you know, actually the Queen of Tabjet. And you can see all of this weaken. All I've got to do is keep swinging, get my cooldowns down, hit them all. This is crazy. All right, here we go. Fight started. All right, let's switch over. Let's pop this up. Boom. Got us a sacred down. I popped an orb. And I do have Divine Embrace to be able to save me if I need it. I'm currently not in my big heal, but there is a lot of weaken, as you can see. I only took like maybe 4,000 damage on that attack. And if I actually put in some dodging, this wouldn't be hard for me to be able to do. Still no healing on the ground. Let's put a sacred orb. Here we go, just taking that massive heals. You can see I'm 90% health, but I'm not worried. Like, I don't have any kind of anything on that's going to help. Any kind of ward potions. You know, I'm not running honing stones, nothing. I'm just here. I mean, sure, is a DPS person going to kill this thing faster? But I'm I'm having fun, and I'm not sure if I could do this as a Void Gauntlet, because I'm still going to be taking a lot of damage as a Void Gauntlet player, and not only am I healing, but I'm also weakening. So again, all of my healing is just that much more effective. Oh no, I got down to 6k health. Popped a Freshing Divine Embrace. Let's pop a Bending Vortex. Oh no, I'm back at full health again. Oh, it's kind of crazy, brother, that this build works this well. But if I needed to kill Queen Tabjet, whatever, however you say their name, I could totally do it. All right, I'm gonna make it out of here. Attempt to make it out of here live. Don't chase me. Attempt to make it out of here live, but we're going to go ahead and go through the mutation and let me show you how I actually play as a healer using this build, because there were times that I totally went like full passive healer, and you still can do that, like no problems at all. But you can see a lot of times I'm up in the middle of a mix, and yeah, let's get into the footage.
Easy work.
Drop down in the comments and tell me what your thoughts on the Power Stone healing build are. And personally, for me, I'm loving it. It feels like a breath of fresh air instead of having to always use Void Gauntlet. I don't know how viable this is in PvP. I haven't played with it too much yet, but let me know down in the comments. Personally, I still love Void Gauntlet with Putrefying Scream in PvP, especially in Arena. It feels really nice. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Check out one of these two videos and please subscribe because my tanking video featuring the Power Stone is coming up next. We'll see you in the next video. Oh, do the whole like, subscribe thing. Guys, I'm literally about to hit first step monetization done, and I just need the 1,000 subscribers, and we literally can monetize this channel in like a month. Anyway, bye. Thank you. Love you.